Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we are going to have a little chat about the upcoming price hike from Games Workshop. Now, currently, I'm not entirely sure whether this is going to apply to all regions or whether it's just going to apply to the US. There is a good chance it's going to apply to the UK as well. I don't want to make incorrect assumptions, and I don't want to say that you're safe when you're not, on the other hand. So I will say if you have a particularly big order that you are putting together, a bunch of stuff that you've got your eye on, place that order before the 8th of July, no matter where you are, because that is when this price change is going to take effect. We currently have a list price. All of this stuff was sent to me by MaxG Gaming on Twitter, so thank you very much for sending all this over. We have a list that is in dollars, so we have the dollar amount for the changes that are going to be happening price-wise. There is also an interesting little breakdown made by Alex Walker on the Warhammer 40k fans Facebook page, which helpfully provides a few examples of the, notable examples. Almost gives you an idea of the sliding scale of the price changes, which do have both the pound and dollar values in there, which is why I'm leaning towards this being a change affecting pretty much all regions as opposed to just the one. So, Games Workshop sent a message out which reads, "Dear customer, we would like to inform you of an upcoming price change in your region. These changes will take effect on the 8th of July 2019 and will affect a selection of products in our catalogue. We are letting you know in advance so you can prepare your systems and stock appropriately. The new price list is attached." I have to admit, I'm not entirely sure whether it's a complete price list that has been leaked, shared, however you want to put it, because there are some strange discrepancies in there which I've looked through the list pretty extensively at this point. I've gone over it a few different times searching for specific units to see if there's just to see if it's a uniform change to stuff that costs a certain amount. So like an £18 box, for instance, whether that remains the same each time. And there are some interesting exceptions to it that are either because it's not a blanket increase on certain costs, or and that it's in fact just on a box by box basis. So we'll talk about that more in a sec. The examples that Alex pointed out on the Facebook page are the Wraith Knight, Bloodthirster and Lords of Change, which are going from 70 quid to 85 quid, or $115 to $140. The Triarch Praetorian / Lichguard going from £20.50 to £25, or $33 to $40, and Cadian Shock Troops going from 18 quid, or $29, to 22 quid 50, or $35. Now, I have no idea why the price changes have taken effect. I'll say that straight off. I have absolutely no clue. It's incredibly easy to speculate, and anything I do say on why this might be happening now is of course complete speculation, because I have no source of information, no insider telling me why this is happening. It's just going to be guesswork, and I wouldn't even say it's educated guesswork, it's just guesswork. But in terms of exceptions, in terms of things that have struck me as being significant in their absence, one of the examples given is the Cadian Shock Troop squad, so the infantry squad. So that is going up to $35. In pounds, 18 quid, and going up to $22.50. I have had a look through this list, which I will link in the description down below. You'll be able to take a look with me as I'm talking, make it nice and interactive, sort of. And I cannot for the life of me find a particular unit that I have been looking for, which is Demonettes of Slaanesh. Now, the reason I'm looking for Demonettes of Slaanesh in this list is because they also cost £18. So it would be reasonable to assume that they too are going up to £22.50. But I can't find them in the list at all. It's admittedly a little difficult to check because they are pictures of text. You can't control F this, which I would love to be able to do and make things so much easier. But there's an example there of one specific squad that costs £18 going up in price, where another squad that also costs £18 is not going up in price. Now, if that's due to the list being incomplete, then there's nothing to be gained from singling that out. But if it is the case that one of those is going up but the other isn't, that means that it's being done on a box-by-box basis as opposed to a blanket increase on certain costs. Another example is the Chaos Space Marine Rhino. That is going up in price as well. I don't have the value in pounds for what that's going up to, but in dollars I believe it's going up to $45. I just need to have a quick check of that, and once again, finding it is a pain in the arse because it's pictures of text, which, $40. There we go, found it. So that's going up to $40. On a similar note to the Demon X Slanesh, I cannot find the Space Marine Rhino. The Space Marine Rhino isn't on the list. The Razorback is. The Razorback is going up to $45, but the actual Space Marine Rhino itself, I can't see on the list, which, again, if it is simply a case of it being an incomplete list, then it's just an incomplete list, and it could be that the difference in price between the Rhinos doesn't exist, that they are all going up. If it is a complete list, it means there's a weird situation where certain stuff is being increased and other stuff isn't being increased in price, despite the fact they initially cost pretty much the same. Admittedly, the Chaos Rhino is £1 more, but that's because you get the Chaos Vehicle Accessory Sprue with it. So it's strange that there are some exceptions. Now, when it comes to working out why the prices are increasing, the only thing that I can think outside of abstract guesswork around things like Brexit, which I don't know, that is, no matter which side of the fence you stand on, such a fucking shambles at this point that really trying to gauge the impact it's having on anything is, unless you're actually a financial analyst, it's like what is the point even? I've no idea whether it might be something to do with that. I suppose it's possible. It's also possible it's got nothing to do with that because Games Workshop have essentially just marched on merrily regardless and has completely ignored Brexit for the most part, and it's had very little effect on them at all. They are doing just as well as they have in recent years, well enough that they're, sharing out £5 million amongst all their employees. They're hardly struggling in these Brexit-laden times, so whether it is something to do with that is, I think it's fair to say, almost impossible to actually tell without asking one of them, and they're not going to tell you, so it's kind of pointless asking to begin with. The thing that strikes me significant are things like the Bloodthirster and the Lord of Change. Now, those are going up to £85 or $140, and if you look at the Keeper of Secrets, you will note that the Keeper of Secrets is £85. Personally, for a lot of these older kits, it looks like they're being brought in line or closer to the value of newer kits. Now, we know as Games Workshop has been increasing their model production, as they've been bringing out more factions, more units, more armies, more of everything, they have slowly been raising the price on new stuff. Prices have been creeping up steadily for a good number of years. When you look at how many models you used to get for like £30, that number is now halved. When you look at things like the Adeptus Custodes, they are a relatively expensive army money-wise. Mind you, all of their stuff costs a shitload of points to field as well. But the actual plastic for your cash price has gone up across all of Games Workshop's different systems. It has slowly been increasing over time. Now, the Keeper of Secrets is £85. The Bloodthirster has been £70 for ages. That is now going up to £85 as well. They essentially fulfill the same role. They are the greater demon of their particular god, and they have essentially the same battlefield role / unit type. In the case of those, it's pretty easy to see what the actual price increase is down to. It's because they are equivalent models, except one is cheaper than the other. That, to me, is a fairly clear-cut example of Games Workshop looking at it going, okay, well, we increased the price of this when we brought it out over what it used to be, the equivalent of what it was. We need to bring the other stuff in line so that all of this stuff essentially costs the same thing. So you have the Bloodthirster and the Lord of Change going up to £85 to match the Keeper of Secrets, because they are effectively the equivalent unit to each other in different armies. That is the thing that is the most simple for me. It's looking at it, a lot of them are older kits. There are relatively few, in fact there are very few new kits in here. One of the notable exceptions is the Master of Executions, but for the most part, everything else are things like Chaos Space Marine Raptors, Cadian heavy weapon squads, you've got Orc Storm Boys, you've got Orc Boys, you've got Triarch Praetorians, you've got Immortals, Deathmarks, Pathfinder teams, Space Marine Devastator squads, Razorbacks, Predators, Tactical squads, Chaos Space Marine squads. These are all older models that are still essentially using older pricing. They are cheaper than the things that Games Workshop have been bringing out over the last couple of years, and in that respect, they are falling behind. They are not keeping up with the pricing model that Games Workshop currently has for everything else. So, to me, a lot of this stuff... I misspoke, by the way, sorry. The Chaos Space Marine squad, I don't think is actually on this list. No, it's not on there. Ignore that bit, because it's not a new thing. I almost forgot that they actually had new stuff for a moment. The Forge Fiend is going up, though, to $75. Jesus. So, to be honest, a lot of it, for me, it looks like they're just bringing in line the older kits, price-wise. They're not updating the kits, they're just increasing the price to more closely match the price of existing kits. That's what it feels like. That is genuinely what it feels like to me. There could well be many other things around it, but it kind of just feels as though they are bringing all of their stuff into the same kind of ballpark when it comes to cost to consumer, which I'm not particularly surprised about. I don't like it, but I'm not surprised by it, because at the moment there is a strange... there's a huge disparity amongst a lot of the different armies where, you'll have armies that with vehicles that cost £45 for one, and then you'll have another army that costs 20 quid, and it's like the actual pricing structure it's kind of messy, and it's messy because they have been slowly increasing prices as they've gone along. If you're going to attempt to bring it all in line, at some point you're going to have to either make things cheaper or make other stuff more expensive. And it really feels like to me in this case that they've opted to make things more expensive. Now, I'm not saying that's the decision I like. Of course I don't like that, because the more you raise prices, the higher the barrier of entry gets, the fewer people are able to get into the hobby, the more prohibitive it becomes in terms of cost, and that's not good for the hobby. It's not good for anyone. But if you want to try and make sure that your products have a more comprehensive pricing scheme behind them, you're not going to lower prices on everything else because people are paying the money for those models. They haven't raised prices on any of the Primaris stuff, notably. There's no price increase on any of the Primaris models. I mean, why would they be? Those are newer models, and as such they cost significantly more than their older counterparts. I think, looking at it as well, there's no Death Guard stuff either, which again makes sense because they are newer models. In fact, thinking about it, having a look, I actually can't see an increase on some of the Thousand Sun stuff either. Some of it has been increased, but it looks like only one of them has. It looks like only the Rubric Marines have increased in cost, which is interesting. It seems as though it is the older stuff just being brought more in line cost-wise with the newer stuff. Which, to be honest, makes it an even harder pill to swallow, because a lot of this older stuff does not hold up anymore. Like price increases on Khorne Berserkers, for instance, which going up to $40, feels pretty garbage because those have not aged well. They are not I would argue they are not a kit that is up to standard when you compare them to the more recent work that Games Workshop has been doing. So it's a shame. It's difficult to fully comprehend why. That is my best guess. That is my best guess, that it is essentially evening the playing field out between old kits and new kits. As I say, it's all guesswork. It's just talking out my thought process. I have no insider information on this whatsoever. I could be totally wrong, but that's the thing that makes the most sense to me. And, in terms of supporting arguments for that, I would say that the increase to the Greater Demons, actually making all of those cost exactly the same, is a pretty good indication that that's the overall attitude that's being held. They're not more expensive than the new kits. They're exactly the same price as the new kits. They're being brought in line. So if you have a particularly big order and you have a look through that list and find that a bunch of stuff that you want is on there, you'd better grab that quick, because it's going to go up in cost on the 8th of July. You have had your warning, you have been told, go out and spend your cash now before you have to spend even more to get slightly less, would be my advice. Thank you very much for watching. I hope the link provides any information that you're looking for in terms of individual pricing. As I say, didn't want to go through every single unit. That would be absolutely mind-numbingly crap. So much easier to just give it a quick scan and see what you can see. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think the cause of this increase is in the comments down below, whether you think it is just bringing them all in line with the current pricing structure for different sets, whether you think it could be something to do with Brexit or any of the other stuff that's going on, or whether it's just a random arbitrary decision. I doubt it's that, but you never know, someone might think so. Let me know what you think of all of that in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click any of the links that will at some point appear on the screen all over the shop, Patreon videos, subscribe, all of that shit. Click it if you like, don't click if you don't want to. And if you would like to support the channel in a way that does not involve Patreon or watching adverts, which I know a lot of you don't want to do, which is fair enough, they are irritating, there is a link in the description, which is an affiliate link for Element Games, and if you buy something through that link, they give me something for it. You still save money, you don't spend any more than you ordinarily would. In fact, you spend less because they have a massive discount on 40k stuff and any other tabletop stuff known to man, because they stock absolutely everything, as well as paints and all of that stuff. So if you click that, that also helps. You can do it if you like, don't do it if you don't want to. I'm not your mum, I'm not telling you what to do. It's just there if you want to use it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Toodaloo.